when you have spiritual knowledge, but you skip that shadow work part, skipping shadow work part means your ego side is still in control of you. In vibrational frequency, you have pride in the middle. Pride and high vibrational frequency, right? The expansion range, right? So let me share with you my brief timeline of my spiritual journey and the mistakes I have done before. Okay, something about me is like I've started doing all these dream things since in my childhood. These things is natural to me, and like I said, I like to read self-encouragement book, right? That's when I first bought Leonardo da Vinci book. But that thing, he was talking about human canon, and he was talking about human principles and whatnot to be a decent human being, right? But to me, it's more to like mystic, and Leonardo da Vinci book is about journaling, a practice to be a decent human being. And then I got into degree school. That's where I met my professor, spiritual professor. So he started doing all these spiritual teachings. But I wasn't in that mindset. I wasn't in that level of understanding. It's very new to me. I couldn't take it literally at the time. He gave all this material about spiritual teachings, left brain, right brain, and all that shit. Leading towards the end of school, I only able to connect the dots because we have to submit this project, right? I'm like, oh my God, wait, what he's teaching here somehow relevant to what I was doing back then, which is the Leonardo da Vinci human principles and all that journaling thing, right? So why not? So I read my Leonardo da Vinci books and then I put it in my project and I submit it to him. Okay, that's, I think from there, if I start connecting the dots about spiritual, Leonardo da Vinci and spiritual. The timing is so right because after school, I went to internship and then this is where I start meeting more people. I already have this knowledge about astrology and whatnot. I already was interested in astrology, but here, I don't know what got into me at the time, but I found tarot reading on YouTube and then I started learning about twin flames and whatnot, right? So I was obsessed with it. And from there, it actually developed my interest in spirituality. That's when I start connecting more dots from what my professor was talking before. I'm like, oh, and more, right? And then something happened to me, which brought me to my first awakening. I was so depressed at the time, and then angel visited me in my sleep. I draw this on my other art account. I posted it in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. That's when I know I have this close connection with God. They're always taking care of me. So I brought myself up again with different mindset. At the time, I'm still not used to spiritual work until I met my spiritual friend, which is the one from my last video. She gave me the Flower of Life sticker. So she come through and start telling me about this spiritual workshop. And here comes the fun part. So point of my video, I want to tell you about how if you skip shadow work, right, you will become Ted Anderson. How come you're spiritual but you're so prideful, all those shit, right? But I mean, not saying that Ted Anderson is bad. You can look at me, you can watch my video and you tell me like I also sound like Ted Anderson, Ted Andrew, whatever his name is. I'm like, okay, so what if I am boastful? Does it trigger you? Then start doing your work. So my spiritual friend, our company is in the same neighborhood with my professor, my spiritual professor. So every time we cross past his house to get to the cafeteria, I told my spiritual friend, right? I'm like, hey, this is my professor house. Because I told her he knew a lot about spiritual. He come through with a spiritual teaching. And this girl over here, my ex-spiritual friend, she still go to school. She started learning about spiritual from law of manifestation. So she was like, leave him be. I don't want to mix up with him and whatsoever, right? I can read energy. It was intimidating to her. With me, she can show off her power and whatnot. She can compare herself to me, but she don't want to work together with my professor, spiritual professor. That's shady. So when I was with her, it's the right timing that I start learning about, I start reading spiritual book. I was reading raw material at the time, and then I start info dumping her about this thing, right? And then we kind of work together hand in hand about spiritual. It comes to the point that she told me like, hey, let's work together. Let's do a spiritual education tool for kids. I'm like, I didn't like the idea. I mean, if you want to make business, do business about spiritual, right? You have to use your discernment, what to charge and what's not to charge. So I don't like her idea at the time. I'm like, okay, I'm out. I don't like this. I didn't like the idea of making money off basic knowledge. Like, seriously, bitch, business much, huh? So I walk away from her. I only started meditation last year, actually, after something happened to me, my second awakening. Only I did meditation and I started expanding my perspective and I start doing shadow work. And that's when I learned that, oh my God, I was a bitch last time. Let's come back to the timeline after I left. So I walk into a new zone. I'm like, hey. So I want more woo-woo friend, right? So God's like, okay, let's bring her more woo-woo friend. Okay, and that's when I first met my woo-woo sister. But I tell you, I haven't done shadow work yet, right? When you don't have self-love in you, let's just put it that way, okay? When you don't have self-love in you, you start look at outside. You start finding mistake from outside. So anyone around you, okay, you find mistake in them instead of you find mistake in yourself. Okay, you look outside instead of you look within. Okay, so that's what I did last time. And so one thing about me is I good at reading energy, right? So Woo Woo sister come through. She said like she started talking to me about spiritual and whatnot. So she was saying that she want to be a healer, and this was the nightmare because at the time I'm like, I'm always a queen of swords of a bitch. Right now, I already done my shadow work and whatnot. I only reenacting back all my experience, all my encounters with people. I'm telling all these stories because I'm transmuting the energy from my pain, from my experience, whatsoever that I went through. Okay, I'm transmuting it into a story that can teach lessons to other people, and I'm teaching you how to look at things from different perspective. Right? This is educational purposes. Okay. So she showed to me that I want to be a healer, but she hasn't healed herself. I can see through her bullshit and whatnot, right? And I can see that how come you want to be a healer but you haven't healed your own self? Like, you're still wounded. You come through as a wounded person. Whatever you say, how you deal with things, everything is wounded, right? So I start bringing people and tell them about these things, right? Because what? So I tell them like, you can be a healer if you still haven't attained your own shadow side, like that, right? So it pissed me off so bad. Thanks to her, because she triggered me so much, I learned that all these triggers are teachers. But it didn't start there. It only started when shit happened to me, like this catastrophic event happened to me, right? Which is last year. So they're like my second awakening. So when I wake up again, I'm like, oh my God, why am I so mean like that, right? So I started doing shadow work and whatnot. Like, I learned about this dark femme. I learned about masculine, feminine balance and whatnot. I'm wounded too. That's why I was triggered by her. So I healed myself, and then God just like, I was at this bar one time, and then like I met her outside. So I went to her and tell her like, hey, I apologize to her for being a bitch, for talking shit about her and whatnot, right? So she's like, she really don't care because she's just minding her own business. So it's good. See? She just do her job, which is being, okay? You just being is a teacher to me, okay? I learned from her. I'm like, so what? What is your problem? Why are you so triggered from her just being? Okay? Do that job now. So I started doing shadow work and whatnot. That's when I found myself. I start meditation. I do shadow works and whatnot. I see my own worth now. That's why every pain, every mishap, every triggers, everything is teacher. It's really your perspective, how you look at it. If you look at it from low vibrational frequencies, you get triggered and you're gonna attack them. That's what I did. She challenged my limited belief. So I attacked her. But of the times after my second awakening, I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Right? And then I start taking all the triggers into journaling and I transmute it from triggers to teachers. That's when I start seeing my own worth. I start accepting myself for who I am. I start treating myself good. I water myself and I grow like this now, and I'm still growing. Okay, so I'm telling you story way back before I have this different perspective, before I did my shadow work, before I learned to love myself. I always look at it. I'm a very judgmental person. If you don't know yet, I am, right? So, and I'm a queen of swords, so I run my mouth, right? Okay. So last time, every time I met spiritual people, I was at this place where I have knowledge about natural, spiritual, mystic things. So when I encounter small woo-woo friends, right, I get excited. But at the same time, I start measuring how woo-woo are you. So my first encounter with this girl, she did tarot, and then like she come through like very pushy. So I'm like, okay, this is not the kind of woo-woo I like. So I recognize a pattern. This is what I do last time. I was so busy observing other people. When I can use that observation and apply it to myself, then I can grow like this, right? That's why I'm a late bloomer. Now I only learned that apply it to yourself, bitch. What's the point of reading others? You just waste your energy. And well, at least I read other people's pattern and I tell them like this is their pattern, right? That's good for you too. Use this, okay? But I'm like nowhere, they're somewhere, something like that. So I noticed her pattern. She likes to push herself to people. She's like, hey, I like this, I want to do tattoo with you and whatnot. And then like after she done talking with me, she's like, hey, I want to buy this from you. Yeah, I like you. Yeah. That's how she make networking. Like when she come through, I don't like her energy because something about me, like I want natural thing, right? Encounter people naturally and like start talking about something that you click first. It's like connecting from mutual interest and all that shit. One thing about her that intrigued to me was the fact that she's woo-woo. She do tarot. So my first appointment with her, I did her tattoo, right? I was judging her in my head. And she's the first person I know in real life who do tarot, because before this I only do like YouTube tarot, right? So I was reading her while doing a tattoo, literally was reading her like, okay, let's see how woo-woo she is. Can she read my mind? Would she know my intention towards her? Did she know that I'm judging her and all that? And then the more I talk with her, right, I'm like, this girl is obviously, that's me coming from ignorant place. Not every spiritual people have. You watch too much TV, I guess, Shafia. You literally thought like, oh, everyone spiritual, everyone can read people's mind. Everyone spiritual, everyone can do this, do that. Like it's so many spectrum and it's so wide and you still lack of understanding. Yeah, that was me. So the more I met like spiritual people after that, I'm like, second, it's so interesting. Let me share with you some more stories. And then I met few others, tarot readers. There's a good thing that I learned from all these people, all these woo people. Okay, first my woo friend from work. She like all this mystic. We share a lot. We exchange a lot of mystic stories and whatnot, understanding and whatnot. But at one point, so I experienced all this segment in my life and I don't like it. Like one thing about me, when I don't like things, I move to other stuff. So I assume she would do it too because she knows about all the spiritual mystic, right? So I was like, I think after my second awakening, I realized that, okay, this is not the kind of person I want in my life because she knows about all this shit, but she didn't apply it to herself. So I'm like, okay, let her be somewhere else where she belongs. So I continue with my journey like where I am right now. But let's come back. It's not just her. So I met another more tarot readers, right? So first I learned that one time we share tables, right? So I was doing tattoo at the back and then like she was doing reading at the front. So I can hear her message, right? And then all the message that she gave to her audience was a message that she should apply to herself. She's a Gen Z. She's still going through shit. Let her experience this shit and let her learn, okay? But because I was so ignorant, right? I look at her, I'm like, how? But you're a tarot reader and you're telling all this message to people, and then all this message you should be applying to yourself, because that was a literal message that she can take literally into her to deal with her situation, right? Whatever. When I met these tarot readers in person, they're like so nosy about other people's business. They like to read other people's energy without their consent and whatnot. They abuse their gift, right? So that's what happened to these secretary readers, right? Because she was reading my friend's story, right? And then she became very nosy. She started becoming very nosy about her stuff and whatnot. So when my friend told me that, I'm like, okay, that's very nosy situations. Like, your job is to read their energies upon people consent. So you stop there, okay? You don't go beyond and then like become nosy about people's personal life and whatnot. Like, that's the thing. When you have tarot reader who knows about your personal life, that shit's so fucked up. Like, okay, and then there's another tarot reader. I think she don't have awareness at all. Something about her, like, she's so bad at reading energy and whatnot. She insists to read my card, like to read my energy. One time she was like, she come to at my table and she's like, start shuffling cards. She's like, let me read you or whatnot. And I'm like, okay. I was a people pleaser. I don't know how to turn people down, so I'm like, okay, do it, right? And then she started reading me, right? And then her reading is so, what the fuck are you talking about? I cannot relate at all. But I'm a Libra moon, right? So instead of turning her down, like telling her like, no, that's not my reading, I can't relate at all, I try to understand from different perspective. I'm like, I try to find a way to maybe because when you read tarot, you cannot get it wrong anyways. Does she not know how to read energy? Does she not know how to read a fucking card or something? Because I try to make sense on, maybe she was, but basically she didn't get it right. And then we happened to hang out once, okay? Once. I hang out with her once and I know that this is not it. I don't like her. Take her away from me. She's very pushy. Oh my God. We were at Nero. I was eating my tiramisu, right? I was in the corner. I don't even have appetite to finish my tiramisu. I was like waiting to go home. I was like contemplating, like, do I wanna, maybe we should go home. Like, oh my God, really draining. Do you know what drained me? These people, including that girl, that girl was talking about the same shit over and over again, making joke about the same shit over and over again. Okay, in one night, that one session, okay, I'm like, oh my god, like, are we talking about the same shit again? Like, they're talking about the same guy again. Literally me at the time, you can tell from my face, bitch, that I'm so done with this, okay? But these people are still like, right, yeah. The energy was encouraging her to keep going. Like, literally, every one of them. How many of us, by the way? 6, including me, 7. Me on this side, and these people, I'm trying to understand, right? But I cannot hide it. But these people literally like encouraging her. You know, it's the same shit, same story. Like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, that's why I come home, I cry, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my God, I cried because it's so irrelevant. I'm like, oh my God. Like, what? How did I get myself to that table? Bitch, that's my first time I didn't finish my tiramisu. Every time I love that tiramisu so much, but I'm like, that's my first time I cannot finish the tiramisu. I give it to her or whoever that wants to eat at the time. I'm like, wow, you guys are really boring. When I talk with people, right, I like to talk about brain stimulating things that is growing, right? So I really cannot understand, like, oh my God, it really cut my appetite, like, to be sitting together with these people. Before this, I have another friend, okay? She wasn't there. I have another friend who, at least if she don't know what I was talking about, she encouraged me to talk more about what she don't know, right? But with these people, it's like you're trying to talk about something else, but they're just too loud, talking about the same shit over and over again. So I'm like, I gave up. I finished smoking all my cigarettes, like empty box. And then they're going to dinner or something, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go back, right? And I go back and I cry. I'm like, oh, I can't imagine myself in the same table with them again. So I'm just saying here, they're not it. It's that easy. You have to know what's not it for you, so it makes it easy for you to walk away. If not, you'll be like them. You'll be stagnant. You can't be like, tell me you sit in the same table and these people are talking about something that you cannot understand. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, I cannot understand this stupid shit. So, okay, take yourself out of there. If you don't take yourself out of there, how the fuck you expect other people to come talk to you about things that you want, bitch? Exactly. That's why I say declutter. Love yourself and do shadow works. Know your worth and whatnot. Know what you like, what you don't like, and whatnot. So you know what your taste. Okay, if this is not your cup of tea, okay, you have to declutter. Okay, you have to make space for new energy to come in. Now, I apply that judgmental for my own good. Like I stop looking out, I start look within. And that because I did shadow works and whatnot, it makes it easier for me to like my bullshit radar is more, it's like it's more sensitive than before. Before I already have this bullshit radar, I already can see through bullshit, right? But now more clarity compared than before. Thank God I found self-love and whatnot. I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna take back my energy. I collect back all my energy. I call back my power and whatnot, and then I will start watering myself, and then I'm good now.